Good morning to our two guests, Jonathan and Tony, for being here this early with us. Really, thank you guys for getting up, especially for us. Just a couple of practical things. So can I ask everybody to mute, please, so that we don't have any disturbing noises? And I agreed with Jonathan and Tony that questions can be asked, but we will do that via the chat box. So if you have any questions, please feel free to do that via the chat box. So today we have Yosemite Mariposa County Tourism Bureau, who will let us know about their wonderful region. I can assure you that it's really worth going there, but most of you probably know that. The coordinates of Jonathan and Tony will be sent in a follow-up email. So what you see now will be mailed out to you. Jonathan, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Peter, and thank you to everybody that is joining today. We're going to go ahead and start with a video here in a moment, but I just want to let you know that today's presentation will be primarily general information, somewhat basic to intermediate. We'll definitely leave time for questions, and we'll address your questions for those folks with more advanced knowledge. We'll talk about some of the renovation and capitalization projects that are in the park that might impact visitation over the next 1 to 2 years. And then we'll talk about the potential continuation for a reservation system in the park. So our presentation today is going to start with about a 3.5-minute video, and then our deck is actually about 80 slides. We're going to go through that very quickly, so probably about 12 to 15 minutes for that. So we'll leave plenty of time for questions afterwards. So Chris, if you want to start the video, we'll start with that.
Are you USA Travel? Emily binnen CDL?
Ja.
Okay. Ja, ça va. Ziet er schoon uit.
Can I please ask everybody to mute, please? Marilyn, could you mute, please?
Uw mute staat nog niet.
Chris, we hebben geen geluid van de video. Chris, we hebben geen geluid.
justice for all. Thank you, Plant Birds. The Gazette was founded in 1854. Thank you, Matt.
Jonathan, you're on mute.
All right, that would be helpful. All right, can you hear me and see the screen? Okay, great, thank you. So Mariposa and Yosemite have a lot of history and culture for California. The region is quite vast, and so we'll talk a little bit about that. So as far as our positioning in the state of California, for those people that haven't been to Yosemite, we're generally in the heart or the center of California, with drive times that are 3 to 4 hours from the San Francisco Bay Area, and really about 5 to 6 hours, depending on where you are in Los Angeles and Sacramento, about 3 hours. For people that are visiting additional destinations such as Lake Tahoe and Las Vegas, Yosemite is a very popular pass-through to the state. So Mariposa County is quite large, over 6,000 square kilometers in size. From the video, you could see that it starts out in the flat agricultural areas, which are only about 100 meters in elevation, but the elevations go up over 3,500 meters in Yosemite National Park in the southern Sierra Mountain Range. For our size, we only have about 17,000 residents, so very sparsely populated, with over 2,200 kilometers of hiking trails, some of the tallest waterfalls in North America. The region is fairly young, but by California standards is quite old, established in the 1850s with gold mining, and primarily tourism and cattle ranching are the primary sources of income and industries in the area. So today's presentation, the next 8 or so minutes, I'm going to go through and talk about the 4 entrances and exits into Yosemite, primarily based on the type of lodging and hotels you're going to find in that area. As they say, with all roads lead to Rome, the same is true for Yosemite Valley. And in Yosemite Valley, you're going to find the primary properties, which include the Ahwahnee Yosemite Lodge and Curry Village. The Ahwahnee was built in 1924 and is really a Grand Dam hotel of the National Park Service. This dining room, as an example, is 100 meters long and 32 meters, about 40 meters wide and about 32 meters in height, seats over 350 guests, and is really a spectacular place to visit. You don't have to be a guest to go to the Iolani Hotel or use the dining room or enjoy these public spaces, which are beautiful to be able to have a cup of coffee or tea in the morning or a drink in the afternoon. Also in the valley is the more commercial Yosemite Valley Lodge, which looks up at Yosemite Falls, and also has a fantastic dining room many people don't know about, which is the Mountain Room Restaurant. There's about 240 rooms at the lodge, and they're all quite nice. The oldest lodging in Yosemite is Curry Village, or Camp Curry. This has extensive large dining rooms. It houses the mountaineering school, has a pizza deck, grocery store, and has about 440 of the original tent camps at Curry Village, both heated and non-heated tents. Plus there's cabins with and without baths, and some really nice public spaces to just enjoy the vibe of Yosemite Valley, looking right up at the cliffs towards Glacier Point. So we'll start talking about the different entrances into Yosemite. The first one is Highway 140, or the all-weather highway. This is the easiest entrance to get to, really from the San Francisco Bay Area and even from the Los Angeles area. It starts out at a lower but moderate elevation up the Merced River and travels up the Merced River into Yosemite. It has very few hills and peaks to go over, and so it's the easiest route to go in, especially in an RV. Some of the properties you'll find along Highway 140 include Yosemite View Lodge with over 440 rooms. These properties include kitchenettes in all the rooms and river views. Are all built along the river. Very, very easy access, one of the closest properties to Yosemite. Its sister property, the Cedar Lodge, just a few kilometers to the west, is also about 240 rooms and offers, again, large rooms with kitchenettes, and both those properties have good restaurants. Yosemite Bug Mountain Resort is in Mid-Pines, which is about 20 minutes, about 30 minutes further west, or about 10 minutes from the town of Mariposa. This property is more bohemian in nature. It's very popular with climbers, with outdoor adventure folks. It has a hostel, so that there is a lower level access to inventory here for younger student groups and things of that nature. A newer property is Auto Camp at Yosemite, and Auto Camp now has properties at Joshua Tree, Russian River here in California, and other areas in the US. It focuses on their Airstream travel trailers, which are permanent and stationary. These are known as kind of luxury land yachts for the RV world. And they have a beautiful mid-century modern public area. It's a very interesting property. For Highway 41, which is the south entrance, primarily folks that are going to be coming from the Los Angeles area, there are properties just outside the park and inside the park. Many of you may be familiar with Tenaya Lodge at Yosemite. Tenaya Lodge has one of the only 4-diamond luxury full-service resorts in the Southern Sierra. It boasts a 16 treatment room spa, 4 restaurants, and many amenities that you'll find nowhere else. So their different products include the main hotel rooms. In addition, they have the cottages at Tenaya, which are these triplexes with a king-queen suite at the top. Below, they have a king room and then a double queen. These can all be rented individually, or you can take the whole building for families. And brand new at Tenaya are the Explorer cabins. These are 600 square foot, either king, queen, 2-room cabins, or they also have a king double bunk bed for families with kids. Once you go inside of the park, you're going to find the Redwoods in Yosemite, which is 120 private vacation homes. And these range from very basic 2-bedroom cabins up to these luxurious 5 and 6 bedroom homes. Next to the Redwoods, you'll find the historic Wawona Hotel, built in the late 1880s. This is just over 100 rooms. They have the old traditional hotel, which you're seeing here, which are rooms with shared baths, and then you've got these beautiful cabins that were built in the coming years into the 1920s with rooms with baths. From here, we can go forward a little bit, although this isn't another entrance. We do want to call out the Scenic Wonders cabins, 110 different homes in Yosemite West, just at the base of the turnoff to Glacier Point. Really wonderful homes in this area that many people aren't aware of. And with the reservation system, both the Redwoods at Yosemite and Scenic Wonders are really good options. The Big Oak Flat entrance, or Highway 120, is for traffic primarily coming from the Sacramento region, sometimes Napa or Sonoma. And the lodging in this area is a little bit more rustic, but it's provides great access to Hetch Hetchy, other parts of Yosemite. The Blackberry Inn, you're probably not familiar with. This property has 14 rooms. It's a beautiful bed and breakfast with great hosts. And then we have some commercial properties here, including the Westgate Lodge, which has a little over 100 rooms. And then its sister property, more historic Buck Meadows Lodge on Highway 120. And then Tioga Pass, of course, open seasonally, generally May through October. Tioga Pass is a spectacular route in and out of Yosemite National Park with really amazing promontories, including Olmsted Point. Olmsted Point looks down the Little Yosemite Valley in the backside of Half Dome. There's also some wonderful hikes in this area. Also great stops at Tenaya Lake. And as you go from the top of the Western Sierra over to the eastern side, that route comes out at Mono Lake. Tony, do you want to talk a little bit about your favorite hikes along Highway 120 East over Tioga?
I would love to, because that's actually my favorite part of the park. I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm so bad at doing the translation from feet to meters. But Tioga Pass is generally from about 8,000 to 10,000 feet above sea level. It is by far the highest area in the park. And because of that, it's also the least visited part of the park. Everyone loves Yosemite Valley. But for me, I love the Tenaya Lake hike. It's a short hike around the lake. It's very accessible. The lake is right next to the road. North Dome is a personal favorite hike of mine. It sits up, it'll walk you right out across from Half Dome, which is something that many people don't get to see. And it's generally a longer full day hike. There's also some hikes with some really great mountain access there, like May Lake and Hoffman Peak, which is next to May Lake. So really some great hikes where you can have a really personal experience with Yosemite.
Thank you. So we'll shift away from the entrances and talk a little bit about an itinerary that would involve a 3-night stay, really give you 2 full days in Yosemite National Park. Not everyone can stay for 3 nights, we understand that, but with the drive times from the major cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco being anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, most people will be arriving into Yosemite, Mariposa County sometime in the afternoon. And we always recommend that people take time to enjoy the small towns and the gold rush history and the Western cowboy history. There's a lot to explore and see in these small towns that we have. And Mariposa, again, was established in the 1850s. People came to this region with literally just the clothes on their backs. They came to look for gold and to try to strike it rich in the region. And the small towns still reflect that history of the pioneer spirit. And I just want to run through some of these small towns to give you an idea. So those pictures of Mariposa, Coulterville. Coulterville is another town established in the 1850s. This is a shot of the museum area in Coulterville. Very authentic, very historic, very small town, sleepy, just maybe about 400 residents. Hornitos is more or less a ghost town on the way. It's a side road that comes in from the San Francisco Bay Area. It was the original home of the Ghirardelli Chocolate Company. And if you come through Hornitos, you're going to see all these amazing foundations and buildings from that historic period. And then Fish Camp and other small towns just have really unique charm and character. So it's worth taking a little time to explore these small towns and get to know them before rushing into Yosemite National Park. So the itinerary we're going to talk about today are and again, 2 days and 3 days, or 2 days, 3 nights in Yosemite Mariposa. We'll start with the town of Mariposa and some of the things that you're going to see there. So there are 3 different museums in town. I'm going to let Tony talk about each one of these.
Yeah, something that's really cool about Mariposa, I mean, we're a tiny town. It's just short of 1,800 residents, but we were actually just named by USA Today as having some of the best small town culture in the United States. And a big part of that is because of the selection of museums we have, as well as nightlife and art galleries and things to do. But the museums are really, really great points of difference for Mariposa. Pictured is the Mariposa Museum and History Center. This museum tells the story of the town of Mariposa, going all the way back to the Native Americans that lived here before any Europeans ever set foot here. It's absolutely packed full of different artifacts that tell the story of gold mining, ranching and logging that happened here. And then, of course, the tourist history that we're still living in today. This museum was actually named by the Smithsonian as the best small museum in the United States. There's also the Yosemite Climbing Museum. Well, I'll go with the California State Mining and Mineral Museum since it's on screen. This is actually California State Park, the only one we have in our county. It tells the history of mining throughout the entire state, not just here in Mariposa. We're part of what is called the Mother Lode, where all of the gold was found in California. We're at the southern part of it. So this is a great museum that tells the entire history of really what built California around gold mining. And then there's the Yosemite Climbing Association Museum. This is our newest museum in Mariposa County, and a really unique museum as it tells the history of rock climbing in Yosemite, which is an incredibly popular sport. People come from all over the world to try their skills at rock climbing in what is really considered the sports mecca. A longtime climber who actually lived in Yosemite, Ken Yeager, opened this museum with another gentleman known as Mr. El Cap for the amount of summits he's done on El Capitan. They've collected just hundreds of artifacts and photographs that tell the story of climbing, and it's really great because if you walk in and Ken's there, he will be happy to give you a tour of the museum, so you're getting firsthand experience of climbing in Yosemite from really one of the sports legends.
So Mariposa is not going to have Toomey or Forever 21. You're going to find a lot of handcrafted gifts in small shops. Very, very quaint. Excellent restaurants. I think the number of restaurants that are available and the quality always surprises our visitors. Outside of the park, you're going to find a lot of quaint and unique lodging as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But in general, what you're going to have to realize is that the lodging that we talked about in Yosemite Valley is extremely limited, and the majority of lodging really is located outside of the park. So understanding that you may not be able to get a room if you want in Yosemite Lodge, the lodging outside of the park is really fantastic. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to run through more or less what the time frame would be inside of Yosemite, and a lot of images of our key points of interest. So tunnel view, which is my screensaver right now, is a must stop at point and promontory looking over Yosemite. Again, pro tip takeaway: Encourage your guests to come into the park early in the morning if possible. And don't run right for the major parking areas within the park. There are a lot of small parking areas and picnic areas throughout the park along the Merced River, which are really lovely to visit. Bridal Veil Fall is another really key point. And as I talk about some of the renovations, there's a major renovation going on here. Yosemite Falls is the tallest waterfall in North America. It's actually made up of 3 individual falls, about 2,300 meters in height. Half Dome and Cook's Meadow, and of course, the Wani, which we talked about earlier, is a great stop for people to get breakfast or lunch. Breakfast is my pro tip to you, is tell people to go in early, have breakfast at the Wani, and then you're going to find Valley View, which is at the west end of the valley. Great look back in. So another pro tip, again, with a reservation system potentially, is YARTS, or Yosemite Area Transportation System, allows great shuttle service into the park. You can leave your vehicle outside the park, use the free shuttles, bike rentals, or walking tours to explore the valley. And so many hikes. This full day in Yosemite Valley, unfortunately, with just 2 days, you probably spend a lot of time in the car and not necessarily being able to do much hiking unless you have more time. And some of the activities you'll find in the park itself. So day 2, we always recommend Mariposa Grove of giant sequoias. You can easily spend between 2 and 4 hours in Mariposa Grove. As you're coming back from Mariposa to Wawona, the History Center is another museum area that you can visit and enjoy, along with the new Chinese History Center, which is, and the Wawona History Center, which has been added just this last year. There's a stable, and you can do trips up to Chilnawalna Falls from that area before getting to Glacier Point, which is one of our primary locations to visit. It was closed this year for construction, but it reopens with limited access and traffic next year. Short hike, which we recommend on the Glacier Point Road out to Taft Point. It's only a couple kilometers in each direction. Provides a fantastic view of the valley. And then one of my favorite hikes is the Panorama Trail, which starts at Glacier Point and goes all the way down to the valley. It really be a full day hike if you can enjoy that. And then many evenings, my family and I go to Glacier Point and watch sunset, watch the stars come out. Love to see the Perseid meteor shower and watch the celestial fireworks that happen at night from that 2,000 kilometer height. And again, more activities in that area. So that concludes the presentation portion. And if I can go in here and stop the share, I will do that. Right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jonathan. It was a lot of information.
Yeah.
Luckily, we recorded it, so for everybody who wants to hear it again, or who was a little bit late, we will distribute the recording of the webinar so that you can listen to it all again, because it was very, very interesting. A lot of information that was be given by you, Jonathan and Tony. So thank you a lot, and thank you for hosting this webinar to us. And then before we conclude this webinar, I hope to see most of you the day after tomorrow. So within 2 days, we have our afternoon in the Warboom in Brussels, where we have several presentations as of 4:30, and we have more than 15 exhibitors from the US who are ready to let you know a lot more about this beautiful destination. I think most of you will be there because we have already more than 100 travel agents participating. But even if you haven't inscribed yet and still want to come, feel free to inscribe. You're still very, very welcome. So thank you again for this webinar. Next webinar is, as usual, last Tuesday of the month at 4 p.m. And I want to thank Jonathan and Tony for getting this early out of their bed, because with the time difference, I know it's a lot appreciated that you are there, guys. Okay. So thank you, everybody, and see you later. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Can't wait to see you here.